Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Fiscal Planning, Finance, and Building Committee meeting open session of Wednesday, January the 10th, 2024. And welcome back to everyone, everyone who is here in the meeting room and everybody who is online. Welcome back to work and to best wishes to everyone for a wonderful, healthy, happy, prosperous 2024. We have quorum and we will proceed with the agenda, the open session agenda. Calling the meeting to order now. We need a motion to convene into closed session. Trustee Promoli, Trustee Bailey, we second it. Thank you. All in favor to move? Thank you. Item 3 is a rise and report from the closed session. So we rise and report on items dealt with in the closed session. We received the procurement activity report for information. Trustee Johal, will you move that, please? Trustee Davis, will you second it? Thank you. Any questions about the rise and report? Seeing none, all in favor? Carried. Item 4 is the acknowledgement of traditional lands. Thank you, team.
The land upon which we work, live, and sustain ourselves is the ancestral and treaty lands of the Michizagig Anishinaabe, also known today as the Mississaugas of the Credit, the rightful caretakers and title holders of this land. We also recognize the rich pre-contact history and relationships which include the Anishinaabe and the Ongwe Hongwe.
Since European contact, this land continues to be home to Indigenous and non-Indigenous peoples. As responsible community members, we value the diversity, dignity, and worth of all people.
Colonialism displaced and dispossessed Indigenous peoples of their ancestral land
and continues to deny their basic human rights, dignities, and freedoms.
We are committed to learning true history to reconcile, make reparations, and fulfill our treaty obligations to the original peoples and our collective responsibilities to the lands, water, animals, and each other for future generations.
Thank you. We will move to item 5, which is approval of the agenda. Trustee Bailey, will you move that? Trustee Joel, will you second it? All in favor of approval of the agenda as we have it? That is carried. Thank you. Item 6 is declarations of conflict of interest. Are there any conflicts to declare? Seeing and hearing none, we'll move to item 7, which is approval of minutes. These are approval for us because they are part of our committee. 7.1 is stop bar. Meeting minutes of September 27th. Trustee Promoli, you put those on the floor, please. Trustee Bailey, will you second them? Are there any questions about those minutes? Seeing none, all in favor? That's carried. Thank you. 7.2 is the Fiscal Planning, Finance, and Building Committee meeting of November 16th. And while that seems like a while ago, just to recall everybody, we did not have a December meeting. And so this is here for the first time for us. Trustee Johal, will you move that one, please? Trustee Davis, will you second it? It's on the floor. Are there any questions about those meeting minutes? Seeing none, all in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Item 8 is 8.1, which is a delegation which has been withdrawn for this meeting. There may be interest in rescheduling that for another time. So, but for now, we're moving forward to item 9, which is a likely list of staff reports. So we will start with 9.1, which is the former Lakeview Park Public School Heritage Designation. This is here for our information and will be presented to us by Suzanne Blakeman, who is the Manager of Planning and Enrollment. Suzanne, welcome.
Thank you, Chair, and through you, Chair. On September 27th, 2023, the City of Mississauga designated the former Lakeview Park Public School as being of cultural heritage value or interest under the Ontario Heritage Act. What this means is that the board is unable to alter or demolish the building without the consent of the City of Mississauga Council. The board has appealed the designation to the Ontario Land Tribunal, or the OLT as we call it. The issue is that the existing building would require substantial retrofitting if it were to be used as a school. So the city has designated the entire building, which is comprised of a 1923 section and then additions onto the school that were built much later in 1965 and 1954. So the board is hoping for amendments to the bylaw to restrict the designation to the facade of the original 1923 building in order to preserve the maximum flexibility for any redevelopment of this property.
Thank you. Well, let's move this to the floor so we can open up for discussion. Trustee Promoli, seconded by Trustee Davies. Thank you. Are there any questions regarding 9.1? Okay, seeing none,
Sorry,
we'll. Yep.
Stan, I raised my hand. Can I speak?
Yeah, absolutely. Sorry. I need some help to be able to catch up to the online folks. I apologize for that. Go ahead, Trustee McDonald, question?
Yeah, through you, Chair, and thank you for recognizing me. And I appreciate you bringing this forward. So if I understand correctly, we approved in June for the property to be put up for sale. And then in September, the city decided to make this designation of heritage. And in so doing, it made the property value for us for selling it drop substantially. And unless we even get some bylaw changes with the current designation, it makes it very difficult for anyone to use this property and for us to sell it.
Okay, is that the question? Go ahead, Trustee McDonald.
I'm not hearing a response. Sorry.
Okay. Chair. Well, is it me?
If I may, Chair.
For a second.
Sorry, I didn't hear a response to my question.
Echo. Yeah, sorry, just a second. We're getting some echoing in the room here. I'm not sure whose this is.
We got it.
Okay. Thank you. So Associate Director Gill would like to address your question. Trustee McDonald, go ahead, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Through you, Chair, just as a background, yes, we did put the property on the market for sale. And yes, subsequent to that, the city of Mississauga decided to make the whole property given as a heritage designation. And definitely with that designation, the property value will go down. Not that the city has designated now the whole property as heritage designation, but because of the development which is happening in that whole Lakeview area, and our understanding is through the minister's order that development actually the developers will be allowed to double the whole development, which was approved by the city of Mississauga. So what that means is there will be a lot more residents and more families and with the students living in that development area. So definitely we need another school site. So for the time being, we took the property off the market. In fact, so even though the city had designated that and it would have impacted the value that the board would have received, but we as a board decided to take the property off the market at that point. Now, in case at some point that we end up needing that property again to rebuild or build a new school and on that site. So we wanted to keep that option open, but definitely as long as that designation is there, if in the future board decides to sell the property, yes, definitely the value of the property will be much lower than otherwise. So and that was the main reason that we have decided to appeal. And also as a board, we didn't feel that there was any reason that the city needed to designate the whole building or the whole property as a heritage designation. So we are appealing that decision and we'll work through that. But what we're hoping is that we will work with the city as Manager Blakeman has mentioned that maybe the city will agree to only designate the facade of the building rather than the whole building itself. And that's what we're hoping for, that we will work with the city. If not, we will continue through the appeal process. And we want to make sure that the board's options, that board has all those options available to us in case in the future the board decided to put the property on the market again for sale. I hope that provides that.
Thank you, Associate Director Gill. I think that provides a lot more background, and I can't echo my support of being prudent in doing the appeal on the property which came out of the blue. So thank you. And also, I can commend you for having a discussion with the city to try to resolve this. Otherwise, the appeal is the correct and appropriate process as an owner of the land does have the right to do. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee McDonald. Another question from Trustee Promole.
Right, thank you, through you, Chair. And first, I just want to say I really appreciate all that background and that clarification because that is helpful. Did the city give any sort of indication about why they made this change to the designation? Like later on, if they had already had something in place and they decided to expand it, did they explain sort of what their intention was and if they had any thoughts about what the intended purpose would be once they had changed this designation?
So through the chair, like we have a very good working relationship with the city. There's a number of projects that we work with them, but in this case, we were not even advised that there will be a report coming to the Heritage Committee and they will designate that. It was such a surprise to us that doing that. And when we asked for that, no reason was provided to us. No rationale was provided to us. But putting the two together, there was some interest from the region on that property and all those things. So once you put the things together, that we didn't felt that there was actually a good reason for them to go through this, other than just to lower the value of the property.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that.
Thank you. Are there any other questions? And again, help me if you see some hands up. I'm not seeing any. Oh, Suzanne, did you want to add anything?
Yes, through you, Chair. I just thought for everyone's interest, planning staff attended the December 6th City of Mississauga Council meeting where the fact of our appeal of this heritage designation was discussed. And it was made clear by the chair of the council and the councillor in the area that they felt that we were definitely in the wrong to appeal this. They were quite shocked by our appeal. And so we will have our work cut out for us.
Hey, well, we hope for some cooperative mitigation between now and before an appeal could be heard. This has been moved and seconded. Yes, and so I'll call for all in favor for information and receipt here. That is carried. Thank you. Item 9.2 is the EDC bylaw renewal for 2024. Also here for information and also being presented by Suzanne Blakeman, the board's manager of planning and enrollment. Thanks again, Suzanne.
And thank you again, Stan, and through you, Chair. So the purpose of this report is to provide an overview of the timeline and the steps of the renewal of the board's Education Development Charge, or EDC, bylaw. EDCs are development charges that are imposed under a bylaw respecting growth-related net education land costs incurred or proposed to be incurred by a school board. They're levied on new development and paid by the developer or building permit taker when the building permit is issued by the municipality. The revenue collected from these charges is then used by a school board to purchase land or school sites for new schools to be built upon. Now, I had hoped that this report might come after an information session that's being set up for all trustees. The report that you have before you references January 24th as that information session. That has been changed now to take place following the February 7th PPF&B meeting. And at that time, the board's EDC consultant from CN Watson and Associates economists will take trustees through an EDC 101 so that trustees are well informed of their obligations before considering passage of a new bylaw. So any questions that you will have coming from this report will definitely be answered at that information session. But in a nutshell, the current Peel District School Board EDC bylaw expires at the end of June in 2024. Bylaws are renewed every 5 years. The current bylaw was passed in 2019. A new EDC bylaw is required for the next 5-year period commencing July 1st, 2024 and ending on June 30th, 2029. 2 meetings with the development community and other stakeholders will be held, one on January 17th, 2024, and another on a date to be announced. There will be 2 public meetings held consecutively on the evening of April 17th, 2024, and then the board will consider passage of the new EDC bylaw on May 22nd, 2024. I'm here to take any questions if you have any.
Thank you, Suzanne. Let's move it to the floor for discussion. Trustee Davies, and seconded by Trustee Promoli. Thank you. Are there any questions regarding the EDC bylaw? So seeing none or hearing that, I will just add that having been through this 5 years ago, and certainly trustees more experienced than I would have done this a couple of times, I think we could echo how important this is to us as a board, for us to learn about how this works and how the development charges can help us move forward in terms of acquiring land and property. So hopefully on February 7th, everyone will be available after the next PPDF&B meeting, and we can jointly learn together how this all works. So there were no questions, and it's been moved and seconded. All in favor of receipt? As information, that is carried. Thank you. Item 9.3 is the Ray Lawson Public School grade reorganization. Ray Lawson Public School and Roberta Bondar Public School boundary change. This is a recommendation, so this is here as a recommendation for us. The presentation is by Dana Gutierrez, who is the senior planner for our board. Welcome, Dana.
Thank you, and through you, Chair Cameron. The report before you for approval contains 2 recommendations. One is the recommendation for the grade reorganization of Ray Lawson Public School, and the second is the recommendation for a boundary change with Roberta Bondar. Where possible, the board is committed to reviewing opportunities for the conversion of schools to kindergarten to grade 8. Recommendation 1 is the reorganization of Ray Lawson Public School from a kindergarten to grade 6 school to a kindergarten to grade 8 school. Ray Lawson is one of 3 balanced calendar schools in the board and the only one with a kindergarten to grade 6 configuration. There is significant community support for the reorganization of Ray Lawson Public School to a kindergarten to grade 8. The grade reorganization would be phased in, beginning with grade 7 in July of 2024. Recommendation 2 is the recommendation for a boundary change between Ray Lawson Public School and Roberta Bondar Public School. Currently, students in grade 6 at Ray Lawson Public School transition to Roberta Bondar Public School for grade 7 and grade 8. With the reorganization of Ray Lawson Public School to a kindergarten to grade 8, students would no longer transition to Roberta Bondar Public School. This boundary change, similar to the grade reorganization, would be phased in beginning with grade 7 in July of 2024. There is surplus classroom space available at Ray Lawson Public School, so no portables would be required to accommodate the additional students from the grade reorganization and the boundary change. I am happy to take any questions at this time.
Thank you, Dana. We appreciate this. It's here. Let's get it on the floor first. Trustee Promoli will move it. Trustee Davies will second it. And are there any questions regarding this? Not seeing any. Do you have one, Trustee Davis?
No, I just wanted to say how amazing the work is done here. They keep me informed and up to date at every moment, and I just wanted to thank them, Dana and her team, for this.
Thank you. And two things about this that I really liked when I heard your presentation, Dana. One, the community is behind this. It would be a request that they would strongly support. And secondly, that it removes a transition for a group of students who no longer have to go to another school for grade 7 and 8. And we know that that's a healthy way to allow students to stay with their friends and continue in the original school that they're in. So thank you for that. Everyone, this is here for our recommendation. All in favor? That is carried. Thank you. Thank you, Dana. I know you don't need to go very far because 9.4 is a Alan Gale public school replacement school information. So this is here for our information as an update and also a presentation from Dana Gutierrez, our senior planner. Welcome again, Dana.
Thanks again, and through you, Chair Cameron. The next report before you provides an information update on the replacement school for Ellendale Public School. On November 23rd, 2021, the Ministry of Education approved the replacement of Ellendale Public School with a new estimated 875 pupil place school. Construction of the new school is expected to begin during the fall of 2024. Due to the complexity of the project, students and staff at Ellendale Public School will be temporarily relocated to the former Ash Grove Public School building. In the following months, an open house event at the former Ash Grove Public School will be organized for Ellendale Public School families to familiarize themselves with the temporary location prior to the start of the new school year. Additional details will be provided in the coming months to families. Transportation will also be provided to students while they are being accommodated at the temporary location. School administration will continue to update families as additional information becomes available regarding the construction and relocation details. I'm happy to take any questions you may have.
Thank you, Dana. Let's move it to the floor. Trustee Bailey, will you move it, please? Trustee Joel, will you second it? Thank you. It's on the floor. Are there any questions about this report, which is here for our information? Yes, we have a question from Trustee Promoli. Go ahead.
Not a question. I'm going to be doing what Trustee Davies just did. I just want to say thank you so much for all the great work that's happening on Ellendale. I get a lot of excited comments and updates from the administration over there. They're very happy, and I know it's going to be a huge project, but I think the community is very excited to see what's going to happen. So thank you for your ongoing great work on this.
Thank you. 875 pupil places. This is a big school. Right.
It's a K-6, which just changed to a K-8.
Right,
Yeah.
right. That's right.
Yeah.
Yes. Thank you. Just one clarification, because I had this question earlier when we talked with planning staff. Just for everyone's information, planning department has been and makes themselves available to the chair and vice chair before every one of our PPFMB meetings to go over the agenda, so we can be prepared, so they can be prepared in the event that there are questions that they can get ahead of. So I really appreciate their time when they do that. But I understand the reason we have to move students as opposed to leave them in Ellendale, the current school, while the new one is being built, is because there isn't enough physical footprint to allow that to happen, as I have seen happen in a number of schools. So I appreciate the clarification on all of these. We have no more questions. No. Thank you. Let's call the vote. All in favor? This is carried. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Dana. So item 9.5 is the application status update, also here for our information, being presented to us by Zach DeCero. Hi, Zach, welcome.
Thank you, Chair Cameron. Through you, Chair, this report is for information and includes a list of development applications reviewed by staff for the month of November 2023, with a location map and a letter sent to the respective municipality. I am now open to take any questions you may have.
Thank you, Zach. Trustee Bailey, will you move this one to the floor as well? Trustee Promoli seconded. So the application status update is here for our information. Are there any questions? It's a much more limited status report this round, right, Zach? But we're hoping for more numbers to come our way over time. But are there any questions, anyone? Seeing none, all in favor of receipt for information? That is carried. Thank you. Item 9.6 is the procurement activity report. This is here for our information, and it's being presented by Controller of Support Services, Wendy Dobson. Welcome again, Wendy.
Thank you and good evening. Through you, Chair, in your package this evening, the procurement activity report for the month of October 1st, 2023 to November 30th, 2023 is attached, and I'm happy to take any questions you may have regarding this report.
Thank you. Let's move this. Trustee Davies and Trustee Johal, will you second it? So it's on the floor. Are there any questions about 9.6, the procurement activity report? Seeing none, call the vote. All in favor? That is carried. Thank you. Item 9 points. Don't go far, Wendy. Don't go far away. Excuse me. The 9.7 is the vandalism activity report. Also here for our information. Over to you, Wendy.
Thank you again, and through you, Chair Cameron. Again, this evening in your package, you will find the vandalism activity or the vandalism report for the month of September 2023. During the month of September, we had lovely weather. And usually with lovely weather comes a little bit more additional vandalism that does occur at our schools. I'm happy to take any questions that you may have regarding this report.
Thank you for the report. Let's move it to the floor. Trustee Promoli, will you move it? Trustee Johal, will you second? Thank you. It's on the floor. Are there any questions about the vandalism activity report, item 9.7? Seeing none, all in favor? This carried. Thank you. Item 9.8 is the flexible school boundaries policy, also here for our information, and will be presented by Superintendent Hoppy, who is the Superintendent of Curriculum, Instruction, and Assessment, and Continuing and Adult Education. Sir, that may be the longest title in the board. But welcome, Superintendent Hoppy. Over to you.
Thank you, and through you, Chair. This presentation will provide an overview of the updated flexible boundaries school boundaries policy. The Peel District School Board recognizes that under certain limited circumstances, defined school boundaries may not always meet the needs of students and their families. The flexible school boundaries policy establishes direction about access to schools outside of a student's designated home school, subject to the financial resources, accommodations, and contractual obligations of the board. Trustees have had an opportunity to see the draft policy prior to the community consultation through the November 8, 2023 Governance and Policy Committee meeting. This updated version encompasses the feedback received from trustees during the November 8, 2023 Governance and Policy Committee meeting and the following specific edits. The PDSB will communicate the application process and establish timelines for the flexible school boundary requests annually. Approved flexible school boundary requests are reviewed annually by the school principal. However, parents/guardians are not required to reapply every year. Continued enrollment at the school is at the discretion of the school principal each year based on the admission criteria and priorities as established by this policy and the corresponding procedures. Parents/guardians may pursue courtesy transportation subject to the requirements and availability as outlined in the transportation policy. Any courtesy transportation is reviewed annually and is not guaranteed. Students that move during the school year will be allowed to remain at their current school for the remainder of the school year or may register in the new designated home school. A flexible school boundary application is required for the student to remain in the current school for the next school year. For families with approved flexible school boundary requests, should their student wish to attend the school at the next level into which the school feeds, example, middle school, secondary school, parents/guardians are required to submit a flexible school boundary request for the next school they wish to attend. Community consultations on the policy has recently been completed and the team is analyzing the information, analyzing the feedback for a future Governance and Policy Community presentation, and I'm happy to receive any feedback on the revised policy.
Thank you, Superintendent Hoppy. Let's move this to the floor. Trustee Bailey and Trustee Johal, we second. Yes. Thank you. It's on the floor. Are there any questions about the flexible school boundaries policy, which is here for our information? Yes, Brad, go ahead. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Chair Cameron. And so a couple months has passed since we reviewed it in the governance committee. Can you just go over the key changes that you made or is included in this update from the consulting, from what the trustees asked and what I think you might have had some staff input?
Sure. So there were 5 key pieces. So I'll provide them, and just for everybody's convenience, in terms of the report that you have in the document before you, they are also listed at the bottom of the board report that was shared, but I'd be more than happy to share. The first being that the board will communicate the application process and establish timelines for the flexible school boundaries requests annually. So that was something that was brought forward. So that is now being incorporated. In addition, for flexible school boundary requests, they are going to be reviewed annually by the school principal. However, the parents and guardians are not required to reapply every year, and that continued enrollment at the school is at the discretion of the school principal each year based on the admission criteria and priorities as established by this policy and the corresponding procedures. The next point that was next piece that was amended since you've last had a chance to see it is that parents and guardians may pursue courtesy transportation subject to the requirements and availability as outlined in the transportation policy. Any courtesy transportation is reviewed annually and is not guaranteed. The fourth point, students that move during the school year will be allowed to remain at their current school for the remainder of the school year or may register in the new designated home school. A flexible school boundary application is required for the student to remain in the current school for the next school year. And then the final point is that for families with approved flexible school boundary requests, should their student wish to attend the school at the next level into which the current school feeds, so for example, going from a junior school to a middle school or from middle school to secondary school, parents/guardians are required to submit a flexible school boundary request for the next level they wish to attend.
Thank you for that. I totally missed that in the documentation. I was looking at it, so I appreciate that. And those are good changes. Thank you.
Not a problem.
Thank you. Are there any other questions? So I have a question and a comment. I sent my questions to Superintendent. I just gave Superintendent Hoppy a promotion by calling him a trustee. Superintendent Hoppy, my questions last night, and he answered them last night, or I got them this morning. And I really appreciated that. I really appreciate the clarity now. I feel so much better. This is a policy that'll be on my bulletin board because I get a lot of inquiries about this, as I'm sure many other trustees do. This will be very helpful in my mind from our position moving forward to provide answers. And I really do appreciate it, Superintendent Hoppy. Thank you for that. The one question I had was, and I'm sorry I didn't see it before I sent you all my questions last night, is the homeschool principle. So what we understand is if somebody wants to make application for a flex boundary, they apply to flex in to the principal where they'd like to flex into. That principal gets the application. But does the homeschool principal then also sign off as they currently do now? And if they do they have a say, I don't know, some form of power to not allow that to happen?
Thank you for the question, and through you, Chair. So as you are, our current practice is one that is a two-stage practice in which the homeschool principal for where this current student resides does need to sign off that they are approving the request for the student to leave their current school. And in the current iteration, there is a form that is completed, and that is now something that the request has to be written down, and the reason has to be stated, so that way the criteria for why they would like to leave and go to another school is written, submitted, and approved by the current home school. The flex school, the requested school, then is the one who would now receive it, and if it meets the criteria and the current principal would the future principal wants to be able to say, yes, you're able to come in, then they would sign it. So it is a two-stage process. What we are proposing in this is, in our policy, is that continues, that it needs to be both principals, both the existing homeschool and the requested school principal that would need to be advised and aware and in agreement with that move. So that is not something that we are looking to change, but that is something that will be clearly outlined within the development of the operating procedures associated with this policy.
Thank you. I think that's an important last part there as well, Superintendent, that this is the first stage. We developed the policy, and out of this, you will develop, administration develops the operating procedure from which we will see how this will actually be put into operation. So I appreciate all of this very much and all of your work on this and your team's work, and the clarity is, in my mind, magnificent. Thank you for that. It's on the floor and we've had no more questions. All in favor? And that is approved. Sorry, that is carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Superintendent.
Thank you.
We're on to item 10 now, which is communications, for which there were none. Item 11 is trustee motions for consideration, which there were none. Item 12 is trustee notices of motion, of which I have none. And item 13 is for adjournment. Trustee Davies, trustee Promoli, all in favor? That's carried. Thank you, everyone, very much. Happy 2024. And thank you for joining us tonight.